Thank you guys for tuning in for a CSBR. The Browns have defeated the Texans 10-7. It could have been 17-7, but Nick Chubb was one of the smartest players on the field and ran out of bounds after a 59-yard run to pretty much seal the game. Incredible game by I should say, it wasn't an incredible game. It was a very optimistic yet pessimistic game. The Browns came away with a win, but it should have been a lot better than they should have played a lot better at the end of the day. And when you look at the score, it was 10-7, and the Browns offensive line for most of the game couldn't really open up the field for Chubb. So they were giving the ball to Kareem Hunt a lot more, and Kareem Hunt had a heck of a day. As we look at the Browns, he would have 19 carries for 104 yards, didn't get a touchdown, but man, he was incredibly hard to stop and incredibly hard to take down. And the Browns didn't have a passing game because the weather was so hard to deal with, in my opinion. I mean, you have over 30-mile-per-hour winds, and the game was delayed because of weather. And in itself, it was just a hard game to win for both teams and for both quarterbacks. And Deshaun Watson, really, at the end of the day, the analysts are going to look at the stats, even though they didn't watch the game, and say, "Oh, Baker only went 12 of 20 for 132 yards." There's a lot more. Yes, Baker didn't have a great game. He didn't have a perfect game, but he did have a good game. He played a solid enough game to win the football. Didn't throw an interception, even though he didn't throw a touchdown. But the big problem here is the play decisions. Like, there were a couple times during the game where we decided to go long pass when we only needed like 4 or 5 yards. And I think that's an area where the Browns need to improve on going forward in order to compete with other teams. Baker Mayfield threw a lot of dimes today, but he also threw a lot of ducks. And when you look at areas to improve on for the quarterback, he has to be more accurate. And I think that's a problem we've run into numerous times this season. And Baker Mayfield, while I know he can be accurate, it's just something he needs to work on. Just a little bit more accuracy. But for the most part, 12 of 20, and I would really say, I'd say 3 of 4 of those were just smart decisions to throw the ball away. So it's interesting concept to look at when you look at how the Browns offense works, because we're not a passing team, and we have a quarterback that can pass the ball. But I mean, when you deal with 30 plus mile per hour winds, that's hard for any quarterback. I don't care who you are. So it's something to look at going forward, is how are we going to pass the ball more, or are we going to do more about the run game when we're moving forward? And I'm interested. What the heck? my stat sheet went all array. But yeah, I'm excited for next week. I don't know who we play right off the gate, but yeah, it's the Browns are a fun team to watch, and that's the first time we've ever really been able to say that in a long time. I'll be honest. It's when you have a running back like Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, it's just a fun team to watch, man. And Baker Mayfield, I still firmly believe he's a quarterback we can rely on, and I'll give him to the end of the season, obviously. But even after the season, I think he's the guy we have to stick with, because there's not really any other options as we move forward into next season. Because if you look at this team, what areas do they need to improve on? And there's 2 positions that I think every single Browns player, not every single Browns fan can agree on, and that is the safety position, and that is the cornerback position. Everyone is so focused on the offense, and while it's true that you got to score points, the Browns were able to score some points today. And why is this at 0-0? That is so weird. There we go. But yeah, it's before the Browns focus on fixing the quarterback, if there is a problem there, because I still, like I said, I believe Baker Mayfield's the person to go with. But the secondary needs to change. And when we go into the draft next season, I think you have to draft another safety. That is the number 1 position I would go with. Our offensive line is really good. And while there were some times we broke down and didn't block enough for the running game. Our secondary is the number one place we have to improve on. And followed by that, linebackers. And I do believe our cornerbacks are pretty good when we have Denzel Ward. Now, Greedy Williams, I don't know what's up with him. I don't know what kind of injuries he's been dealing with. So it's, I don't know. I'm interested to see how the Browns move forward going into next season and going into next week. Because honestly, I'm not going to be too surprised by the end of next week if the Browns don't change anything on the defensive side, because we haven't changed anything all season and we didn't change anything going into trade deadline. So I'm intrigued. I love this team. I think we can be a good team going forward. We just need to put the right puzzle pieces together. And yes, this team is like a puzzle. I said it during my live stream of the game. The Browns are like a beautiful puzzle, but we don't put the pieces in the right areas. And you have this beautiful puzzle you can put together. Like I'm just drawing you a picture, and we have a couple pieces we need to put in the right areas, but we sometimes don't. And I think it's something that we have the people to win ball games. We have the tools. We just need to put them into play. And I'm excited for the future of this team. I'm excited for this year. I think they can easily go on a 3 to 4 game winning streak, because with Nick Chubb, we see how good this team can be. With a dual threat running back position, it changes the field. It changes how you look at your receivers. It changes the entire game plan of how you line up against the Browns. So I'm excited and I'm intrigued to see what happens next week. I think there's a lot of areas where the Browns can improve on defensively. And while I'm not holding my hopes high, I think there's a lot more hope on the offensive side than defensive side. And if we can score more points than the other team, that's the most important part at the end of the day. So thank you guys for watching the CSBR, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.